What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Had a lot of fun this past weekend. It was busy. There's a lot of stuff going on. Did too many games, met a lot of people, and had a ton of fun over the weekend. We even took apart that Nintendo 64, which if you missed that video is up in the card where we went through and took a look at the motherboard and everything and checked it all out. And we are going to put an HDMI modification inside of the system whenever they do ship that. It's hard enough to get on the pre-order list, so I'll just be waiting for them when they want to ship that out to me. But it's going to be really cool to do that so we get a really nice looking HDMI image from the Nintendo 64 before it does all the anti-aliasing stuff to kind of blurry and muddy the picture a bit. Now, there is some interesting stuff to get into today. We have to talk about Nvidia getting some serious money, we'll say that, serious money from the Nintendo Switch. It seems like they have now found a place for their Tegra chipset. If we didn't already figure that out, some financial documents that have come out, we're going to really hammer home the fact that Nvidia appears to have found the best place for their Tegra, and that is actually over the self-driving car stuff right now. First, though, let's talk about some of the smaller news. If you missed it, the NES Classic is returning this Friday, the 29th. And I've even seen some places online actually start taking pre-orders just out of nowhere, just randomly. Walmart started doing it online where people started to find links to Walmart and then you could actually pre-order it. You still have to wait for it to come out. It won't be ready for pickup until then, but you can start to pre-order. I think some of those pages were shut down, but really what that means is you need to be ready for, if you really want to go get one, the 29th, they are going to start reselling them in stores, and even online they'll probably be doing something. Targets, Walmarts, Best Buys, GameStops. Those are all the places you want to go check out, and good luck. Hopefully you can get one this year. I know a lot of people were kind of frustrated last time when they were just impossible to find. Also, Tetsuya Nomura actually admitted now the Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced too early. Surprise, surprise, right? I didn't even think they had to say it. We all know it at this point. And it has gone through some issues in development, but they definitely announced that way too early. However, they did tell multiplayers, an Italian website, and this is what Tetsuya Nomura actually said. I am well aware of the fact that we announced it too early, but even in the industry, word was beginning to spread that we were working on the game, so we just decided not to keep it more secret and officially reveal it. So it sounds like they want to try to jump out in front of any leaks, any rumors, and honestly, we've been talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake forever. We've been talking about a remake for so long, even before then, and I guess some people were passing it around saying, it's gonna happen, and honestly, we were saying the same thing about Resident Evil 2 Remake, even though they did kind of tell us it was there. They didn't really talk much more about it or even show it like they showed us gameplay. That was their biggest issue. If they announced it and we'd been like, all right, then they started showing us gameplay and we were like, wow, this might actually be closer than we thought. And it wasn't. So it seems more or less that there was just rocky development and that's what set them back rather than announcing it way too early. They just maybe shouldn't have shown things like gameplay until they were really sure. Like I said, Resident Evil 2 Remake, we didn't see a hint of that game outside of them telling us it was happening until it's ready to go. And that's coming out, obviously, beginning of next year. And they just announced it technically at E3 with full reveal. That's probably the better way to go there. And if you're looking forward to MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries that was slated to come out sometime in 2018, this is done by Piranha Games, it's actually being pushed. It looks like it's not coming out until 2019, and this was announced by Piranha Games president Russ Bullock. They made the announcement on Twitter, just saying that it's expected sometime in 2019. They're going to give us a better release window, or just a more narrow one apparently, in December, going into the next year after the holiday and everything is up. We'll probably find out, I don't know, midway through December. We'll at least know when, a month? I'm thinking a month, maybe even a quarter. But yeah, unfortunately for fans of the MechWarrior series, it's been kind of dry. 2002 was the last real mainline one, and we've been waiting really since then. So hopefully it is coming out next year, especially the fans who have been waiting very patiently for this game to come out. All right, guys, let's get into some of the bigger news now. Let's start with Nvidia and the Nintendo Switch. Now, Nvidia has been dealing with some weird issues with their stock of their video cards. At one point, it was really hard to get them. Now, they're actually stocked very well, and it's excessive, apparently. It's the weirdest thing with video cards right now. It's something I've really never seen in all my time with computers. It's how video cards are now. But the Tegra chipset has always been kind of an issue inside of Nvidia. See, they've always developed it thinking that they were going to put it in cell phones or even tablets, right? That was kind of where they wanted to go with it. They wanted to do something like put it in their own game system almost, Nvidia Shield. It's going to be even their home entertainment. They even had the handheld one, but it never really took off. At least until now. See, they were working to put it in their automobiles, the self-driving cars and stuff with deep learning, but it seems like the system that is really driving Tegra now, even over the automobile stuff, is the Nintendo Switch. In fact, they did put out their financial briefing and everything, and they talked about how their Tegra business was doing, which was roughly $1.5 billion, and they talk about how the Tegra side for the automobile, the self-driving cars, was just over $500 million. And if you subtract that from the overall Tegra sales, you start to figure out that the part that they are referring to as non-automobile sales is the Nintendo Switch, which seems to sit roughly around $972 million. That's right, it seems that the Nintendo Switch has accounted for almost $1 billion in Tegra revenue, which is insane. That is massive for Nvidia. This is something they're not used to with the Tegra chipset, something that has struggled mightily. Trust me, I've been following the Tegra since it came around because there was a point in time where some of you guys might remember this. The Tegra was actually a rumored chipset for the 3DS at one point, and then they kind of, axed that, or the rumor fell off the face of the earth, and we ended up getting some other chipset that was not the Tegra. It's like an ARM chipset, is pretty standard stuff, but the Tegra was it was this close apparently, based on a lot of rumors, to going into the 3DS, most likely because Nvidia was looking for a place to put it. Now, the Switch is its place, and this is where things become very interesting, because consider this. If Nvidia is making the most money for their Tegra line with the Switch, where do they put the most time and energy in R&D? Sure, the self-driving cars, automobile market is huge, right? We will eventually probably get to the point where self-driving cars are standard. That could be 20, 30 years from now. The Switch is right now, and we hear about there being some long partnership, 20-year partnership between Nintendo and the Nvidia Tegra line. So, well, we could actually see some Tegra stuff really start to accelerate in growth again. See, at one point they really accelerated the growth, and we talked about that in a video, right? Where they went from the inception of it to being basically Xbox 360 ready and using significantly less power in like half a decade. It was very, very rapid, but it slowed down because there was nowhere to put them. Now there's a place to put them. It's making money, which is number one. So here is where we could start seeing things like Switch revisions, new Switch chipsets. They're already designing one to fix a security hole. Go figure, right? Of course, they do so well with the Tegra, and there's a big security flaw in it. But you're going to see something here with Nvidia probably start to put more and more money into the Tegra line because it is selling with the Nintendo Switch. They're not used to it, but one thing Nvidia will do is dump R&D like crazy into their more successful lines. And with their video card business being a little, it still makes a lot of money, but it's so weird right now, so volatile with their video cards. This is a much more stable part of their business right now is the Tegra. They know the Switch is selling, and they know they get X amount for each Tegra, so they'll keep doing it, and they want you to buy a whole nother Tegra when the next Switch or the next revision comes out, because then they'll get more money for it. So don't be surprised if you start seeing more and more things come out from Nvidia where they are R&Ding some new Tegra, maybe for a new Switch. Either way, this is a good relationship because everyone seems to be making money on the other side with Nvidia and Nintendo. So yeah, expect some new Tegras to start showing up at some point, I would say. Probably in the next couple of years. Next up, let's talk about Bethesda suing Warner Bros. Because there are some serious legal battles here kind of brewing in the gaming universe. We talked about, of course, PUBG suing Fortnite over something that doesn't seem like it's going to hold water. But this one, Bethesda versus Warner Bros., does seem like it's going to hold water. See, what's happening here is a lot of us know about Fallout Shelter. It was back on mobile devices back in like 2015, a couple years ago. Now it's going to all platforms, Switch, PS4, Xbox One, I believe even the Windows Store. It's going to everything pretty much. It's fairly popular, even if you're not into the casual mobile games. It's still a fairly popular game. Well, it looks like Warner Bros. Said, hey, that game does look popular. Let's use the person, or at least I should say the company, that helped you develop that, and let's make our own game that looks very, very similar to yours, and it might even use the same code. That's their Westworld game that they have designed, and yeah, it looks like it's using most likely the same engine, the same skeleton of Fallout, except it's using Westworld skins to it. So Behavior Interactive helped to develop Fallout Shelter alongside Bethesda. They were, of course, developing and creating it for mobile. And now Warner Bros. Goes to Behavior Interactive, says, hey, we want to create our own, and we kind of like that. We kind of like Fallout Shelter. We just want it to be Westworld. So we want it to be themed around Westworld. We want the same ideas. Bethesda says it's a blatant ripoff. But one of the biggest giveaways, other than the obvious look of the game, where it looks almost exactly the same, just of course different themes and stuff around it, is that it has a bug in the game that was present in Fallout Shelter's, I don't want to say beta, but early stages. It was eventually patched out, but Westworld has the exact same bug that has not been patched out yet. These are things that Bethesda is pointing out in their lawsuit, calling it a blatant ripoff, and it looks like Bethesda has a pretty serious case here, as they have pretty much gone down the list here, listing everything off, boom, boom, boom. It's pretty straightforward case of copyright infringement. More than likely, Bethesda is going to win. I'm not really sure what they will end up getting. It might end up being a settlement. They'll probably have the game at least pulled off of the marketplace and everything. But man, how crazy is that? I have a feeling, I'm trying to figure out whose fault it is. Warner Bros. Or Behavior Interactive? Did Behavior Interactive have the coding kind of around and they say, well, we can kind of reskin this, flip this real quick and get a nice little payout here? Or did Warner Bros. Say, yeah, whatever, go ahead and do that. It's fine. It's a mobile game. Who cares, right? I don't know, but it definitely looks like something Bethesda is going to win or settle in favor of. And it's done in the court of Maryland, so it's going to be interesting to see. It's something that you should be able to at least keep an eye on through their different court websites. You can kind of see how cases are going. So I'm sure this will get some pretty good press as it's kind of made the rounds. And I kind of want to see what happens here, because these are actually two bigger companies going up against each other in the court of law with Bethesda and Warner Bros. So it could be interesting to follow. Next up, let's talk about a really cool idea on Kickstarter. And I know I don't always talk about Kickstarter as much because it's a little concerning. Indiegogo more so than Kickstarter, because at least Kickstarter you need a working prototype. However, this product has been getting pretty good press, pretty good coverage, and honestly, it's not anything crazy, so I don't really mind as much covering it because it actually looks really like a really cool idea for somebody like me who likes kind of the vertical shoot-'em-ups or even the vertical pinball games that are on the Nintendo Switch. Check this out. This is called the Flip Grip, and it is done on Kickstarter. It's $12 to buy in. They've crushed, by the way, their sales goal, as you can see here, for their funding. They were looking for a goal of $42,500, and they have smashed well past that, $77,952. They still have 15 days to go, and that is on the back of over 4,500 backers. The idea, of course, as you can see, is to enable it so you can have two different Joy-Con controllers on either side with the Switch in a portrait kind of mode rather than the landscape that we're so used to. This, of course, is used in vertical shooters, anything that you've seen in kind of like the shmups that even sometimes have to kind of take. If you look at your Switch, it has to almost do like a widescreen on either side, the other sides. It's kind of interesting to see, but it does try to make it go portrait mode, and a lot of them now are coming out with modes where you can turn your Switch into portrait mode and play it that way. And this just looks like a way for you to hold it easier, because the more I thought about it was, man, that is going to be a little weird to kind of hold it in portrait mode with one hand and then kind of play with the other. The kickstand doesn't even work for that. So this is a great idea, and I really like the look of it. So I would check it out if you were a portrait mode user in any of the shoot 'em ups. And our last bit of news, let's talk about Yoshi on the Nintendo Switch. We're still looking for him, so if you see him, let me know, or call Nintendo. You can call their hotline and let them know. But Yoshi went missing at E3. We were expecting him to be there. He wasn't. And we started to kind of think about why. Maybe they're having issues in development or something. Well, Philip over at IGN was on the case, talked to Bill Trinan, and this is what he had to say about a couple games that were not at this past E3, one in particular being Yoshi, saying, "It's actually been making really good progress. They decided they wanted to make some improvements, so they're going to take just a little bit more time on it, and that's why we're not showing it this year at the show, but I think you can look forward to some updates on it later in 2018. So it is at least getting more updates in 2018. It does sound like kind of what I was thinking. It wasn't quite ready to be shown. They're not 100% sure when it's going to come out, and they're still working through maybe some issues in development, or maybe the frame rate here and there, or maybe just resolution. There are some things that they could be working on, and I said before, Yoshi is not a landmark game. It's not going to just make Switches fly off the shelf. I look at Yoshi as a supplementary game, a game that you can put out between releases. Think of like a Kirby. Kirby, I don't think is a game that's going to obviously sell 5-6 million units in a few months. It's not like a Mario Odyssey, but it's a good little supplementary game, a AA game if you will. That's how I see Yoshi, and I would like to see it come out maybe a little after Fire Emblem, right? Maybe a little before Fire Emblem, just to kind of maybe fill in a month. And you say, oh, Yoshi's coming out, that's cool, I'll pick that up, and then I'll get Fire Emblem, which is a bigger release for me, next month. But hey, some people like Yoshi, and hey, looks like we're going to find out more later on in 2018. Hopefully we'll find out about that Star Fox Racer also. That'd be appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Nvidia making almost $1 billion from their Tegra line with the Nintendo Switch. Makes sense, partnership's good, and everyone's making money, so expect maybe more powerful Tegras, maybe more efficient Tegras for battery life. There's a whole world of opportunity out there for Nvidia now that they're making money with the Tegra line, so expect them to heavily capitalize on that, and that could also work into different things like tablets and cell phones and stuff as well now that they're actually making money. Also, what about Bethesda versus Warner Bros? Or are you looking forward to Yoshi and you're hoping it comes out maybe early 2019, maybe before Fire Emblem? Let me know, guys, down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.